In March 2003, about 80 people gathered at a cemetery in Ohio to bury a man named David Marsden. Wife crying, children dressed in black, white flowers, everything normal, except for one detail that no one noticed at the time, and which only came to light 11 years later. The coffin was empty. David Marsden hadn't died. He was sitting in a bar in Lisbon, drinking a beer, watching the news about his own funeral. David Marsden was the kind of man nobody notices. An accountant, married for 14 years, 2 children, a financed car, a mortgage, the standard life that most people call success, and that he, in particular, called prison. But David had a secret that none of the 80 people present at his funeral knew. For the past 6 years, he had systematically embezzled $2.3 million from the company where he worked. Not all at once, not in an obvious way, penny by penny, transfer by transfer, in a network of accounts so well constructed that it took the audit 4 years to realize something was wrong. And when they did, David had already disappeared 11 years ago. But the money was only half the plan. The other half was something he had been quietly preparing for 4 years. An exit that would leave no trace. How does someone completely disappear from their own life? 4 years before the fake funeral, David began building a second life in parallel. Step 1, a new identity. Not bought, constructed. He found the birth certificate of a man who had died at the age of 2 in 1971 and who would be exactly the same age as David today. Using that name, he opened a bank account in Canada, then another in Mexico. Then he obtained a legitimate passport, all legal, all verifiable, all belonging to a man who never actually existed as an adult. Step 2, the body. Without a body, there is no official death. David spent 2 years cultivating an online relationship with a corrupt medical examiner in a different state. He paid $40,000 for a death certificate with all the correct signatures. Step 3, the story. He didn't simply disappear. He created a narrative. Boat accident, body not found. Eyewitness, a distant cousin, who confirmed seeing everything, each piece fitting together like a movie script. But the coldest detail of all, he didn't run away alone. Someone knew, and that person spent the next 11 years living with that secret while pretending to cry in a cemetery every year on the anniversary of his death. In Lisbon, David Marsden ceased to exist. In his place, a man named Thomas Reeve was born, a 42-year-old Canadian freelance writer, single, with no declared children. Thomas rented an apartment in the historic Alfama district, learned Portuguese in 18 months, opened a local bank account, made friends, and had relationships. He began publishing travel articles in digital magazines using a pseudonym. He paid taxes. He frequented the same cafe every morning for 7 years. The cafe owner said he was the kindest customer she had ever had. Meanwhile, in Ohio, his wife received a life insurance pension. His children grew up believing their father had died in an accident. And David Thomas watched all of this from 6,000 kilometers away, once a month, in the few photos his complicit cousin sent by mail in envelopes with no return address. 11 years. 11 years of perfect silence. And then his eldest son turned 18, and David made the only mistake in the whole plan. The son turned 18, and David, who had gone 11 years without making a single mistake, sent a card. He didn't sign it. He didn't put a return address. He just wrote, "Happy birthday. I love you." But the envelope was bought at a stationery shop in Lisbon, and it had a postmark. And the son, who had grown up obsessed with his father's mysterious death, photographed the postmark and posted it on an online forum for amateur investigators. Within 72 hours, someone identified the stationery shop. Within a week, a freelance journalist was on his way to Lisbon. Within 2 weeks, the story was in the New York Times. David was drinking coffee in Alfama when the cafe owner arrived with the newspaper in his hand. The photo on the cover was of him, 11 years old, destroyed by a birthday card. But what happened in the 48 hours between the publication of the story and the arrival of the Portuguese police at his apartment door is what separates this case from all the others. David didn't flee. He didn't destroy evidence. He did something that absolutely no one expected. David didn't run away. Instead, he spent the 48 hours writing. Not a confession to the police. Not an apology to his family. He wrote a book. 280 pages. The complete story, from the first penny embezzled to the Lisbon postmark. Every detail, every decision, every moment of doubt. And he published it online, for free, before the police knocked on the door. The file was downloaded 400,000 times in 36 hours. When the police arrived, he was sitting on the balcony with 2 printed copies. One for himself, one for them. He simply said, "I know. Let's go." The defense argued for a reduced sentence due to remorse and full cooperation. The judge disagreed. 14 years. But the book is still available online, and it has 4.7 stars on Goodreads. 14 years in prison. Another 11 on the run. Total, 25 years of a man's life consumed by a decision made on a Tuesday afternoon in a windowless office. The question that remains is not whether he was wrong. The question is, what makes someone plan their own extinction for 4 years? Not death. Extinction. Erasing their name, their face, their ties, their history, everything. And then rebuilding everything from scratch, alone, in a country where nobody knows you. There is something profoundly human in that. Something that most people have felt, even if only for a second, in a bank queue, in endless traffic, in a meeting that never ends. The difference between David and the rest of the world was that he didn't just think about it. He did it. And for 11 years, before the postmark, before the birthday card, he was, by all practical criteria, completely free. The question you will answer in the comments is simple. Was it worth it? If you've made it this far, you already know the next video is going to be even more intense. There's a story waiting that makes this one seem simple. Subscriptions are open. The channel doesn't lie.